start doing those things. As we grow, school becomes a major part of our identity. So it's worth asking how education influences this change. Education system shapes how a child grows and who they will become. In early childhood, learning feels more like an adventure. Every drawing, every question, every discovery is celebrated. But as we get older, expectations tightens. Tests, rankings, and comparisons begin to shape how we see ourselves. Learning starts to feel more like a burden than following our passion, our dreams. So, which is following our passions, our dreams, which is what education used to be for. Test score starts to affect our mental health, our sleep schedule, time for friends, time for sports. Test scores had a lot of times affect my sleep schedule as I pull all-nighters preparing for the summative coming up next week. I've also seen my teammates in sport teams, basketball teams, skipping practices or skipping team bondings just to practice for their mock test, feeling defeated every time I receive a low test scores. But in 10 more years, would I remember half of the MCQ questions I did wrong in Mr. Sanders' class? Probably not. So what happens to the real learning? Take a Vietnamese public schools as an example, a system measured primarily through scores, rankings, and tests. Sometimes, children are treated as copy machines, as if they take in knowledge like robots. Grades cannot be the only metric to define who we are as a person, and having one bad grade doesn't mean that you're a failure. But an education system that focuses too much on it may cause the children to pressure themselves into the perfect model, losing the pure innocence and curiosity as a kid. Not only that, it can also lead to other small problems, if you think it's a small problem, as cheating. I know that a lot of students do that, but long-term cheating may lead to dishonesty, which is a huge problem in the future. This ultimate action is a result of a system that values results over understanding. So I ask you, what would learning looks like if curiosity mattered as much as performance? What if classroom encourage wonder as much as curiosity? Education can help us bloom, but it can also hold us back if it focuses only on correctness instead of growth. I recently read a book called I Promised with a Pencil by Adam Braun, where he talked about a trip he took to Agra Fort, India, where he met a lot of kids from the local villages. And one day he gathered up the kids and asked, "What do you want the most in the world?" He expected answers like cars, money, toys. But one boy answer surprised him. He wanted a pencil. That moment surprised Bond. The boy's answer was honest and pure. He did not think learning as in terms of grades or scores or tests or rankings, because he doesn't know it yet. He thought about learning itself. That encounter inspired Bond because it reminded him of what education should really be about: curiosity, possibility, and empowerment. And the boy's innocence allowed the children, allow Braun to know that the innocence that the children are is they naturally wants to explore the world. They naturally wants to understand the world. And they are not born caring about tests, scores, or rankings. They care about understanding, discovering, and creating. This brings me to the idea of the Bloom effect, our main idea today. It is the idea that a shift of education can change a person's perspective and create a new and better generation. A generation where curiosity is valued over grades. A generation full of potential. And our goal is to maximize and utilize their potential. A shift of education can change your world. And children remind us of what we forget. The honesty brings us back to what is real. The curiosity encourage us to notice the world again, and their joy spreads beyond words, without effort or expectation. So, what would happen if we learn from the children instead of expecting them to learn from us? There was a time when this idea becomes personal for me. I was struggling with grades, tests, rankings, summatives, and I feel like everything I did had to be perfect. But when I was visiting this children's orphanage in SOS Hanoi, we asked them, we gave them instructions to draw a horse on a red envelope for the New Year's. The drawing was far from perfect, but a girl looked up to me, hold up her painting, and asked, "Do you think it looks happy?" She was not asking if the drawing looks perfect or if the drawing looks good. She was asking if it felt alive. That moment changed me forever. It reminded me of something I had long forgotten before grades, rubrics, and pressure. I once created for myself, for my own happiness, and we once learned because we were curious. And that part of us, I believe, is still in here. It just needs space to bloom again. I want to leave you guys with a few questions. When do you stop picking up flowers because they're pretty? When do you stop asking questions because they make you wonder? And when do you stop speaking with the honesty you once had as a child? The bloom effect starts when we choose to reconnect with that mindset, not to ignore the responsibilities of growing up, but to balance them with the openness we once had as a child. If we allow that part of us to bloom again, we'll not only change how we learn and live, but we'll inspire others in other ways that spread farther than we can imagine. Thank you.